January 31st, 2002 at 7:20 in the morning, not to be exact, but our building was surrounded by 48 FBI and IRS agents, and that turned into the largest healthcare case in history. So before I started Vertical, I've spent probably the last 30 years of my life in healthcare. And had a pretty good run. We did a lot of different things in healthcare until we got into a little battle with the US government. We were indicted with 136 criminal healthcare charges and 1 tax charge. It was practicing medicine without a license, which we weren't. It was Medicare kickbacks and all different kind of things related to healthcare. When the government showed up at our front door, we had absolutely no idea this was going to happen. We had not even a clue. And it turned out to be a whistleblower suit. So when you get indicted, it says Todd Kaplan versus United States of America. So first, when they surround your building, right, and they walk in with guns drawn and tell you hands in the air, that's a pretty scary thing. We had no idea what to do. We called one of our attorneys, and he had no idea what to do either, because this had never happened to any of his clients. And it was about 2 years before anything really happened. And I absolutely remember that date because I had just landed in LAX from Washington, D.C. And when I land, what's the first thing you do is you turn your cell phone on. And when I turned my cell phone on, my mailbox was full, and it was my mother and my brother and my business partner, everybody saying, call me immediately. And the first call was to my mom, who said, honey, I think I saw you on TV. We got indicted with more counts than Enron, WorldCom, Health South, Adelphia Cable, and Michael Kowalski from Tyco. It's really hard to explain to you the way you really feel, because when you're around people and you're around your family and your friends, it's not too bad, but when you're going to sleep at night or driving to the office, or worse, when you're on a long airplane flight and there's nobody there but yourself, and you keep thinking about that, you know, there was 137 charges, punishable by 5 years for each one of those charges. That's 600-700 years in prison, right? Thinking about never seeing your family, never seeing your friends, that's a pretty tough thing. I truly know what it feels like to be at the bottom. Like when you fight the US government and it says your name, the United States of America versus Todd Kaplan, you understand what it is to hit rock bottom. There's nobody gonna hire you at this time. There's nobody who's going to invest with you at this time. And you know, you still have a family, children in school, and mortgages to pay, and you keep wondering, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And you know, you just, for me, I always have a saying, the 10 magic words: never give up, never give up, never ever give up. So I don't know if I'm not smart enough or I just kept fighting, so you just keep going. But yeah, you go through that feeling several times a day, like, oh my God, what do I do next? And the government finally settled the case with us. So the government dropped the 136 healthcare charges. Those went away. I pleaded guilty, failure to pay $22,000 in income tax. And we actually pleaded guilty in the courtroom that day, and he banged the gavel down and he fined us each $100. I looked at my attorney and said, wow, $100,000, that's a great deal. And he goes, no, Todd, $100. Unfortunately, with that $100 fine, I still became a felon. So. And you still deal with that every day. Once you pled guilty, nobody really looks at it. They just said, oh, that's the guy who was charged with the most healthcare charges, criminal charges ever. So it kind of makes it tough to do deals in that industry because nobody really looked at the outcome. Nobody cared about the outcome. And anybody who read the outcome would again say, oh, well, he had a lot of great attorneys and they spent a lot of money, that's why he won. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, what's my journey going to be? What am I going to do next? And I happened to be at a YPO conference when I said to one of my buddies, what are you working on? He said, I just moved $9 million into a bank account. I'm opening up a legal grow facility. And I said, well, that's great. What's a legal grow facility? So I've spent the next 6 months talking to almost everybody I could in the space. And you got to remember, a lot of people in this space were in the black market. Right? We're just converting to the gray market, and now it's finally the legal market. I spent 30-something years of my life wearing, you know, a suit and Brooks Brothers monogram shirts, and now I'm wearing, you know, T-shirts and dealing with guys who only have first names. So going into the cannabis space after fighting the U.S. government, right? You're going from one problem, are you worried about going into the second problem? So my feeling was, if we did everything right and we were transparent, then we wouldn't have a problem going forward. And always believed if you had the right people and the right team, we'd be successful at it. When I look at everything we've gone through and I try and see the silver lining, but what you really find out, I think, is who truly are your friends and what's truly important in life. And that, we're all here for a limited amount of time and you better be doing something that you really enjoy. To me, it's never giving up, right? You just keep fighting and, I'm not gonna let anybody beat me, so I get out of bed every morning. That's what I do.